Yep, there we go. Perfect. So just recording this so that other folks in the cohort can listen in and hear what they may have missed. Thank you so much, Moose, for that very, very good reminder there. So we'll go ahead and get started now. Again, this is just a smaller kind of session for just the folks who are joining us, who are Public Health AmeriCorps members who have received scholarship to join us at the annual meeting. So this will be your cohort. I definitely suggest connecting with folks. I know Christy has shared everybody's emails back and forth, so you all have each other's contact information, but we'll have a chance to do some breakout rooms later in the session today. So you'll have a chance to say hi to each other, but definitely recommend taking advantage of this time that we have together today. Awesome. So just a brief overview of what we're going to be doing. I've got some just housekeeping reminders, and then I will turn it over to Moose and Elena to go through crafting a poster. They're wonderful experts who are able to kind of walk us through some of the nitty-gritty about how to make a really good and really impactful poster. So it'll be a great time to hear from them today. And then, as I mentioned, we are going to plan to go into some breakout rooms. These will give us a chance to kind of talk through some of the ideas we have about our posters. And then I'll give some reminders and wrap up towards the end. Awesome. So just as a reminder, this is why we're all here. APHA's annual meeting is happening in Atlanta the 12th to the 15th of November. So very excited about this opportunity and very excited that you all will be joining us there. Just some logistics in terms of the events that will be happening at the annual meeting. Some of these we kind of shared last time we were on a call together, but student assembly meeting is happening on Saturday. So definitely as you all arrive, welcome to check out any of those events that are going on. The two major Public Health AmeriCorps events that are public facing at the annual meeting are also listed on this slide here. The first one will be our scientific session, our panel session, where some of the host sites will be talking, as well as AJ Perlman, the Public Health AmeriCorps director. So very excited about that. And then, of course, why we're all here today, the Public Health AmeriCorps poster session. So that'll be on Tuesday around the lunchtime hour. And as always, our online program is on APHA's website. So definitely recommend checking that out and planning your sessions that you want to see while you're there. So just to wrap up the logistics reminders, APHA and in partnership with CDC Foundation are covering the travel and accommodations for your trip. So this includes registration, hotel, food, ground transportation, really everything. The arrival and departure dates are listed on the slide here. So arrival on Saturday the 11th, departure on Wednesday the 15th. And we will be we have sent out the flight booking information. So I know some of you all have been working directly with Christy on that. So definitely continue to check in with her as you have questions or need support on that. But you'll be booking your flights through Concur. You'll be doing that yourself through the instructions that Christy sent you, and you will not have to pay for the flight as you do that. And we will be taking care of registration and everything else on our end. So hotels and all of that stuff as well. So no need to register yourself. Awesome. Excuse me. So I'm very happy to introduce our two wonderful guest speakers today. Moose Alperin has a long history of serving in leadership roles in workforce development and public health practice initiatives. Moose is on faculty at the Department of Behavioral, Social, and Health Education Services at the Rollins School of Public Health at Emory University in Atlanta, Georgia, where we will be very soon. She is also the director of the HRSA-funded Region 4 Public Health Training Center, PHTC, and she serves as on the executive board of APHA. Moose has an MSED in higher education from the University of Georgia and an MPH degree in health promotion and education from Emory and an AB degree in Judaic studies from Brown University, and is master certified in a health education specialist, so MCHES. Elena Kidd, MPH, is currently serving as program director with the Office of Public Health Practice at the University of Alabama at Birmingham School of Public Health. In this role, she works with the Associate Dean of Practice to manage the school's applied practice experience programs. Elena advises both MPH and DRPH students throughout their applied practice experience from initial planning to the completion of their final deliverables, including their poster presentations. In addition, Elena coordinates several grant projects focused on workforce development. Elena received her MPH degree in public health preparedness management and policy at the University of Alabama at Birmingham. With that, I will let you all take it away.
Raya, thank you for the introduction. Let me share my screen. Okay, and hopefully y'all can see my slides and I can see the chat, and we are ready to rock and roll. So, although I can't see your faces, so let's see where that is. I will wing it here. But I am Moose. I am going to start us off, and Elena and I are going to do a little bit of tag teaming. But for those who are comfortable, we would love to see your faces. So we would love to have you turn your video on if you are comfortable doing that. But let me go on and get us started, and I will share our presentation outline for this afternoon. First, we'll talk a little bit about what is a professional poster. I want to talk about why you would present at a poster session. We will talk a little bit about the evolution of posters, as well as actually developing the poster. So talking about the poster, the content that you'll include, thinking about visuals, so graphics, images, charts, and then also we'll get into some of the nitty gritty mechanics of a good poster. But let me, before I get going, we'd like to learn a little more about you. And so one of the things I am wondering is, how many of you have presented at a professional conference before? And because I am not seeing your images for some reason, what I'd love to do is in the chat, if you've presented at a conference before, tell us what conference you've presented at. Or if you haven't presented, feel free to say you haven't presented. Okay. Celine hasn't yet. Oh, several of you have not. Well, this is going to be a fabulous experience for you. That's great. So this looks like it's first time for pretty much all of you who are going to be there. I will say from the very beginning, have a really fun time doing it, because posters are fun. You get to talk to people. So, and we'll talk a little more about that. So it's a fun way to present, and it's a great way, I think, to have this be one of your first presentations. So let's talk about a poster and a professional poster and what it is. It is usually a mix of text and imagery. So you may have tables, graphs, photos, other kinds of images there. People really think of posters as being sort of a single snapshot of a research project or a program or some other kind of project that you have. And it's a great way to tell the story of your program or your research or your project through the use of both text as well as graphics. And it very much is a conversation starter. People who go to poster presentations oftentimes really like to talk. They like to hear about the project that somebody, or the research that somebody is presenting. And so what are the reasons for presenting a poster? And before we go into detail about how you design an ideal poster, we do want to think about the purpose of these poster sessions. Especially with technology nowadays, there are so many different ways to share information. So, it's important to ask ourselves, what makes a poster session different? Why is that a different way to present? Why do we even have in-person poster sessions at conferences anymore? Well, presenting at a poster session allows you to share your research or your project with other people to help publicize and really generate discussion. Poster sessions are a great way to network. They allow you to make meaningful connections to others who are in the field. Sharing your work also allows you as a presenter to build or perhaps enhance your reputation and associate yourself with a particular topic. It's also a really great way to practice your public speaking skills in an environment that is more conversational, that is less formal than standing in front of a room talking to this group of people that are all staring at you. You know, for people who are interested in writing up their project or their research for publication, presenting a poster can also help you organize your thoughts and help you with that manuscript preparation. And finally, it can also help justify funding to attend a meeting. So here's an example of a poster from a project that I was involved with back in 2016, and I want to critique it. And don't worry about the fact that my name is on here. So here's the scenario. You're at a conference, you are walking by this poster at a poster session. What do you notice? And what I would love for you is unmute yourself and just, we're a small enough group, I think you could unmute and just speak up.
Lots of words.
Lots of words, absolutely. What else?
Small.
I see graphs.
I'm sorry, I heard something about small, and then what did I miss something somebody said?
Oh, I see graphs.
Graphs, yep, so there's some visuals.
The tables have a lot of information on them. It's kind of hard to decipher at first glance.
So tables that have lots of numbers, lots of information, hard to potentially decipher. Anything else?
It's not very vibrant.
Pretty monotone, sort of the blue. So it isn't vibrant was the word that was used, but absolutely. So I will say this is a pretty standard poster of what you used to see at poster sessions, and quite honestly, what you will probably see some of when you go to APHA. It's a whole lot of text, and it's crammed on a poster. So here are some things that Elena and I came up with as we were looking at this. Absolutely too much text. It's sort of the sea of gray. It's crammed. There are images, there are graphs, but are they the right ones? You might want to think about that. Couple of positives. It's got a short, fairly descriptive title, so that's probably positive. And we've also used a QR code to link to more information, and we'll come back to QR codes in a little bit. But these are some of the things, in addition to what y'all said, that we thought we would also point out. So Mike Morrison describes what he calls the better poster. And this is a poster where you have the main finding in the middle, and then supplemental information is on the sides of the poster. And what I would like to do is play, there we go, is play the first 2 minutes of a video if I can get the video to pop up. Let's see. Well, let me see if I can just go to YouTube and do it.
This is a metabolism killer. This is a metabolism.
Not what I want to do. Well, you know what? Y'all are going to have the slides, so I'm not sure why it is not showing up, but there is a, this may do it. So it looks like it's linked here. It worked all day today. It worked all day yesterday. Y'all are going to have a copy of the slides. You'll be able to link to it, and you've got this YouTube video here. But what this is it is a, it's a longer video. I was going to show you the first 2 minutes that talk about sort of this notion of having a poster that has like every number you've ever seen, every word you've ever had. And really, that's the old way of presenting information. And then Mike Morrison, sort of better poster, is another way of presenting information, and is a way that has been really welcomed by people in the research field, that people feel like They've been able to have better dialogue with people who are attending their poster sessions, and can really tell the story of their project or their research. And so it's sort of a plug for this better poster. So, and now here it is. So now I'll see if I can play the first 2 minutes.
Okay, here's a quick recap on the scientific poster revolution. Scientists try to communicate tens of thousands of new findings to each other every year through posters. And all of these posters have used basically the same approach to design for decades. You put your vague, jargony title on top, followed by your 45 author names, and then you try to cram your entire paper on the rest of the poster. We call this the wall of text. If we can create a new design that transmits knowledge even a little bit more efficiently, then we can speed up knowledge dissemination and learning across all of science. And it's a really low bar to make a difference here. We're not basing this design on any evidence or mature design principles or anything. We just use it because everybody else uses it. The research we do have on posters has found that, direct quote here, the wall of text is undermined by a limited ability to effectively disseminate information, and that posters have, quote, outgrown their traditional format. Links to that research and more in the description of this video on YouTube. Every time you hear this sound, or this sound, citation, that means I've linked research in the description, and I'm gonna be doing that a lot. But the biggest red flag here is that this hasn't changed in 30 years. Nothing in science should be stagnant like that. For perspective, this design hasn't changed since before the modern internet. And we've learned a lot in the last 30 years since the internet about the science of how people consume information. If we were really applying science to posters, they would get better every single year. So last year I took a shot at creating a new default layout for scientific posters. It looks more like a billboard, and it works like this. You can't help but learn the main finding as you walk by, or you can stop and skim a sidebar for a minute, or you can talk to the presenter for a few more minutes and he has his own sidebar to present from. Or you can just scan a QR code, get a copy of the whole paper, and move on to other posters. And you can buff up your hero area with key figures and graphs. We called this the Better Poster, version 1. The Better Poster cartoon and templates went viral across the entire scientific community. It was featured in major news outlets like NPR and the Boston Globe. The free Better Poster template file has been downloaded over 250,000 times, and a lot of wonderful scientific conferences have encouraged their attendees to try it. And the feedback from scientists who've tried it has been overwhelmingly positive. People say things like, best poster session of my life. I got more conversations. I got better conversations.
So I will stop that.
At this point, you'll see at least a couple.
So, although Mike Morrison makes this case for this better poster, there is not just one format for posters. And when you go to a poster session and you go to the APHA poster sessions and your poster session where y'all will present, you're going to see a variety of formats. So here are a couple of other templates that you may see some posters that look similar to this. Of course, there's the APHA AmeriCorps template that I believe that y'all have been sent. And people at poster sessions, they really want to chat. They want you as the presenter to tell the story of your program or your project or your research or whatever it is you were there to talk about. So really, regardless of the format that you use, you want your poster to be eye-catching. You want it to be a conversation starter. One of the analogies that I have seen about posters is it's like a movie trailer. You've got the highlights and you highlight the key parts and you leave the viewer wanting more. So here are some other posters. You'll see these are a mix of text and graphics. Some are more text heavy, some are more graphics heavy. They use a variety of different formats, but they all have text and they all have a variety of different graphics. So you may be saying, where do we start? Posters are designed to convey a message quickly and efficiently. Most of the time, you're only going to have a few minutes to summarize your project or your research. So when you're thinking about the content that should be included, first of all, think about the words. What's the most important, interesting, astounding, sort of fill in the adjective finding that you want to share? Think about images. How do you visually share your project, your research with the people who are coming to the conference? Should you use charts? Should you use graphics? Should you do photos or other kinds of images? And the third piece is going to be thinking about your talking points. What kind of information can you convey during your talk that will complement your poster? So we'll start with words. You want to identify your main message. You want to think about your viewer. Think about what they need to know, what they're interested in knowing, and identify key points. You also want to think about the structure of the headings that you'll use. There is no set definitive list of what you should or should not use. There may be some headings that are more applicable given whatever it is you're presenting. So for example, if you're presenting on a project that's more research focused, you're probably going to have a section that's called hypothesis or research questions. If you're doing something that's practice focused, maybe you have something that's called evaluation or evaluation measures. You may also have implications for practice that sort of connect your project, maybe if it's research focused, back to practice. It really is going to depend on what you need to communicate, and you should adjust the sections based on your project, but this will just give you some ideas. You also should consider using acknowledgements and further information. You can use these sections to thank individuals for specific contributions. This could include mentors for your project or program, or anybody else that has maybe donated time or resource. You might want to mention who funded your program if it was funded by an external source. You can include any disclosures for any conflicts of interest if you have those. Let people know where to go for more information. Is there a website or a URL? You should be including an email address, a QR code. Also, think about your contact information. Have business cards or a digital business card that you can give to people so they can contact you later on. Now that we've talked a little bit about words, let's think about images and graphics. Only include graphics that really help support your content. Every graphic should have a purpose. And also think about the fact that sometimes a picture is worth 1,000 words. So, pictures and visuals can often explain complex information in a really lovely way. You want to be careful about internet images, though, both from a quality perspective. Your poster is going to be printed, so you want to make sure you're using high-resolution images. But you also want to make sure that you're not using any copyrighted images and that you have permission to use the images that you want to use. Also think about including captions for the graphics that really explain the graphic as well as how it relates to the project. If your project or topic or program has sort of a central statement or maybe a central graphic or some kind of diagram, consider making it a prominent part of your poster. Don't hide it in the corner. You also want to avoid using unnecessary and distracting background textures or decorations that we have intentionally done on this poster to show you what not to do. And you may want to avoid using too many colors. A limited color palette can be effective. So where do you find graphics? We've included some various places that you might go to find graphics. Be aware that iStock and Shutterstock there's payment, so they are not free. But sort of our warning is to make sure you read language about usage rights. Just because something's on the internet doesn't mean it's available for you to use. Creative Commons is an organization that allows people to share their intellectual property with others, but you have to have appropriate attribution. And so we've included a web address that you can read a little more about Creative Commons and where you might get graphics that you can use that need that attribution, but that you can use. So let me talk a little bit about some mechanics, sort of where the rubber meets the road. With your text, you want to be concise. Remember, less is often more. People should be able to read through your entire poster in 5 to 10 minutes. Typically, I think about using bullets, not necessarily sentences or paragraphs of text. You want to avoid detailed, language that's real technical or jargon, abbreviations, acronyms that aren't commonly known. Typically, people read poster text from the upper left down to the bottom right. Titles are typically sort of across the entire width of the poster. And then you have your main text that's broken into multiple sections like we talked about the headers a few slides ago. Use a consistent font throughout the poster. And the other thing that people don't always remember is that colors can look different when printed versus how they look on your computer monitor. So just be aware that the blue may look a little different, or the purple or whatever color you pick may look slightly different. So in terms of fonts and font sizes, you will see different recommendations, but most people will recommend that you use a font that's known as a sans serif font. Serifs are those little curlicues that you see at the end of fonts. So I have circled the serifs on this slide in red. And you see that they have sort of things that sometimes they're very fancy curlicues. These just sort of are extra that sort of fall off at the end of the parts of the letter, which is very different than the sans serif without serif font. And you see the R that has very smooth edges to it. And so people recommend using that sans serif font. We've got some examples here of some fonts that are sans serif. The other thing you will see differences in terms of recommendations is the font size to use. But again, we've included some suggestions of font sizes that you might use for different sections of your poster. If you're a Mac user, you may have different font options, so you may need to look for Mac equivalent fonts to use. And so with this, I am going to pass it off to Elena.
Thank you, Moose. All right, so just to keep the conversation going and talking about mechanics, I'm going to talk to you about accessibility. So another important consideration when designing your poster is accessibility. The information on the slide is from APHA, and it relates to making sure that your poster is accessible to individuals who have low vision. So in general, with text, the bigger the better. Main finding should be at least 72-point font up to 150. Other text should be at least 36-point font. Again, be sure to use sans serif. Make sure your line spacing isn't too crowded. Line spacing of 1.2 to 2.0 allows readers to move from line to line a little bit easier, and it helps to keep the text from being overcrowded. You can use 5-inch by 5-inch QR codes to make research and graphs available to attendees with lower vision, and we'll talk more about QR codes in just a second. And this is especially important if your image or graph has a lot of detail to them. Don't place text over images, as the text can be hard to read. And again, make sure that you're captioning or labeling your images to make sure it's clear what you're trying to communicate with that image or graph. Make sure the resolution of any images that you're using are correct for large printing. You can see the guidelines on the slide, but in case you're wondering, you can find a photo's DPI, at least on a PC, by going to the photo, right-clicking, going to the property details, and the DPI should be listed there. Font color should contrast with the background. Typically, black text with a white background is the most legible with printed material. Still, if you want to use color, that is fine and encouraged, but it may be better to use different color combinations for larger or highlighted text, such as headers and titles. Next slide, please. All right, so color can also play a significant role in how people visualize your poster. Color can be used to highlight important information, or it can be used to guide the viewer's eyes. It can even be used to evoke emotions as depicted on the color wheel on the slide, so just something to be aware of. And if you're presenting on behalf of an organization or school, you may be asked to use those colors. But regardless, plan out your color scheme beforehand so you can avoid using problematic color combinations, which may make your graph or text inaccessible to people who are colorblind. In general, you want to avoid the red-green, orange-blue, and red-blue combinations. And again, like Moose just mentioned, you may want to try to limit the colors that you use to 2 to 3 colors with black to create this unified theme. And again, for accessibility, be sure that the colors used contrast with each other. You don't want to use like yellow text on an orange background or brown text on a black background. And there's some color combination suggestions on the slide along with color contrast resources. So a contrast checker or color blindness simulator, which is kind of a cool tool. And then you can also Google to find color palettes for color blindness. Next slide, please. So like we mentioned, QR codes are a great way for you to link people to external resources. So you can link people to an electronic version of your poster, and that keeps you from having to print them out and bring them with you. You can also link them to additional information about your research or project, like a paper or news article or a write-up about your program. Or you can use QR codes to link people to a website that's related to your project, poster, or research. And it was APHA last year that I first saw someone actually pass their business cards through a QR code. You just scan their phone and it popped up with their business card and you have it on your phone. I thought that was genius because then you're not losing business cards. So another great use of QR codes. And again, as a reminder, QR codes should be at least 5 inches by 5 inches on your poster. And there are a ton of free QR code generators out there, but we have 3 of them listed on this slide for you. And next slide, please. All right, so be sure to look at the poster size requirements for your conference that you're presenting at. For APHA, posters must fit on a mounted stand that is 4 feet tall by 8 feet wide. And you can see an example of the stand on the image on the slide. So in general, posters can be any size, but you really want your poster to fit on the mounted stand and take up the majority of the space provided. And you can see common poster sizes on the slide. Posters can be horizontal or vertical, but typically the most common one, I think probably the large majority, like 99, are going to be horizontal. But be sure to also leave 1-inch margins around the edge of your poster for printing as well. Next slide, please. All right, so there are a lot of good resources and software options that you can use to develop your poster, and you can see on the slide a few that we're familiar with. I will say that Microsoft PowerPoint is probably the most commonly used program because most people are familiar with it, and there are a number of templates that have already been designed that you can download and that are available in PowerPoint. However, my favorite is probably Canva, especially for me because I'm not very graphically or artsy at all. It makes me look good. So I think Canva is fairly easy to use. They have stock photos. You can make graphs and charts directly in Canva. I also find it a lot easier to manipulate text and images in Canva versus PowerPoint. Just quick notes on Canva. They do have some good poster research templates if you need some inspiration in designing your poster. Not all of them are good, so just make sure you're following the tips we talked about today when designing your poster, but they may be a good place for you to start. Just search research poster in the Canva search bar and those will come up. Most importantly, with all these programs, before you start designing your poster, be sure to change the size of the document. And then I put tips in there for how you would do that in PowerPoint and Canva. And this is really important when you send your poster to the printer because there is nothing worse in getting your poster exactly how you want it and then realizing that the size is wrong and then you have to resize everything. And I have done that just from experience. It's a little disheartening. All right, next slide, please. On this slide, we've included a final checklist for you to use when designing your poster and an effort to save a little bit of time. I'm not going to read through all of these because you can kind of read through all of them on your own, but be sure to run through these before you print your poster. Again, it's just a really good checklist for you to follow. You also want to make sure that your poster is accessible for individuals with different accessibility needs, like we talked about earlier. All right, next slide, please. All right, so finally, allow plenty of time to prepare and print your poster. It's going to take some time to plan out what content you're going to include, design the layout, write it, edit it again, and then finally send it to the printer. If you have other authors that are included on your poster, it's also a good idea to have them review your poster before printing as well, just to make sure that you're representing everything accurately. And that may take some time to have them review that as well. So just plan ahead, plan early. Make sure you check your work, go through your poster thoroughly to make sure there are no issues with typos, grammar, clarity, readability. You might want to have someone who's not familiar with your poster material to review it just to make sure that it's kind of clear to a wider audience. And then test print your poster. Make sure it prints how you want it to look. And then finally save it as a PDF and then send it to the printer. Next slide, please. So earlier in the presentation, we talked about 3 components: the text, so the words on your poster, the graphics, and talking points. So it's not enough to have a great poster. You need to be able to tell your story, especially since poster sessions rely so heavily on, how you're communicating the information that is on the poster behind you. So be sure to practice your elevator speech. So in less than 5 sentences, your pitch should address your research or project topic, your finding or results, and the significance. So think about what you're going to say, anticipate likely questions, and practice your response. When you present, you can point to relevant sections of your poster, but you're going to want to face the viewer and avoid reading off from the poster as much as possible. Be prepared to describe the purpose of any figures, charts, graphs on your poster and how it relates to your main messages. Be prepared to give a 10,000-foot overview of the project in a minute or under, but also be prepared to go into a more detailed one-on-one discussions with people interested in your poster or with anyone who may be more familiar with the topic. And finally, APHA is a large event. There are rows and rows and rows and rows of posters with people all presenting at the same time. So be sure you know the time, date, location of the poster session and which easel you're supposed to be at, and arrive early to set up. Again, speaking from personal experience and almost missing a poster session, get there early, know where you're supposed to go, know which easel you're supposed to be at. So I'm going to turn it back to Moose to kind of help introduce our small breakout session.
Thanks, Elena. So we want to give y'all an opportunity to start to think about what might get included in thinking about content for your poster. And what I will also say to you is this is a really fun way to present. And one of the things that's also fun about it is you're the expert. Nobody knows your project or your program better than you do. And so it's really fun to share. So we're going to break out though into small groups. We're only going to give you about 10 minutes. So you don't have a whole lot of time. If you've got a camera on your phone, you might want to take a picture of this slide. So here's what we want you to do. We want you to think about the abstract that you wrote and was accepted. So you're all presenting at APHA. And there were a couple of things you can pick from. You won't have time to do all of these. But if you had to sum up your abstract in one sentence, what is that one main point you want to drive home? Or it might be you want to start thinking about what sections, what are those headings that you might include on your poster? Or thirdly, you might think about what are some of the visuals that will help you convey the main points of your message? And then furthermore, do these images already exist? Do you have to develop the images? So again, I'm going to give you a second if you want to take a picture of this. So it's either sort of thinking about sort of that one major point you want to drive home, starting to think about the different sections you might include, those headings you would include on your poster, or even thinking about some of the visuals. So not the words that you're going to include, but sort of the visuals and how they will help convey main points of your message. So Raya, thank you. So I am going to stop sharing, and Raya, I think you're going to put us in breakouts, and Elena and I think we're going to bounce in and out of, I think that's how we're going to end up doing it, is bounce in and out of the groups and just make sure conversation is going, and then we'll see everybody back in about 10 minutes.
Awesome. So the breakout rooms are open. Feel free to join yours, and we will see you in there. Also in the chat is the questions that we'll be talking about in our breakout rooms.
So how many do we have?
So 3 total. I'll stay in the main room for just a second, and I'll keep an eye on the main room if anybody joins back in.
Fabulous. Okay, I'll go to 2.
Awesome. Maricel or Stephen, do you all have questions that I can answer? Otherwise, feel free to join your breakout rooms. Hey, Maricel, do you have a question for me? Otherwise, feel free to join your breakout room. Oh, I see. What I see. You just put the chat.
And Stephanie, I would say just start and get it. You know, that the scariest thing is not having not done it before, and not just put something down. It's kind of like writing a paper in that sense of just start it.
All right, cool. Thank you.
Absolutely. Okay, everybody's coming back. So let me just ask sort of a broad question, which is, was it helpful to start to articulate what you might want to present? One of the things that came up in the group that I was in is just sort of, you know, a little bit of trepidation from some of, I haven't done this before. How do I do this? And what I will say is, it's kind of like writing a paper when you were in school and you just sort of had to jump in and just get a draft done. And so that's what I would really encourage you all, is to start thinking about what's the context you need to provide? What are those main points? Do you need to provide a little bit of information about the organization you're with, the topic that you're you're going to be talking about? And then what do you want people to know about that project? And just start plotting it out. Even if you just sort of write it in Word, you know, you can sort of start, you know, don't worry about what it looks like on the poster, but just focus on the words and the ideas, and then thinking about where you might put some visuals in. Raya, one of the things that came up in our group was having APHA print. And my recollection, I think you can send it to APHA and one of the y'all's vendors, and then you can pick it up in the exhibit hall. Is that correct? Do you know?
Yep, that's one of the options. That's maybe the more convenient option. There are a few other options that are potentially cheaper. That being said, with the scholarship that you all received and the grant funding that we have, we're planning to cover that cost. So we'll coordinate printing posters, but likely what we'll do is we'll do like a before the annual meeting poster printing. So more detail to come on that logistically.
And I also told my group that that I thought that next month y'all were maybe doing some office hours where people could get some help, and y'all could start to have ideas and bring them and sort of workshop what you're thinking your poster is gonna look like. So this is not your only time to be thinking about the poster and actually getting some feedback. You'll have an opportunity to get specific feedback about your poster. So hopefully I'm not misspeaking on that.
Nope, that's exactly right. And that was the only other thing I wanted to share today, was just that we are going to be doing another one of these sessions in October, and we recommend that you all bring draft posters with you to that session.
Okay, great. So let me go through a few more slides. We've got some references, and Raya has a copy of our slides that that she or Christy can send out to you all, so you will have them. But we've got some of the references we used to pull this together. We've got some more links for tools and resources. And then one thing we want to end with is a little bit of a commercial, but it's commercial for a free a resource for you, but a professional development resource for you. Elena and I both work with the Region 4 Public Health Training Center, and we are one of 10 public health training centers in the country. We are federally funded, so we're part of the National Public Health Training Center program that's been around since 1999 in some form, but funded by HRSA, the Health Resources and Services Administration. But today we're a consortium of 10 regional public health training centers, or PHTCs, that really collectively represent what we like to call the nation's most comprehensive resource for public health workforce development. And I will say free public health workforce development. But there are 10 of our training centers. There is one in each of the Health and Human Services regions. Each of us is headquartered at an accredited school of public health, and then we work with various partners throughout our region to provide our activities. So we have a new website for the network, and you can link to to the training center that is in the region where you currently are. So Elena and I are sort of the gold area in the southeastern part of the U.S., and we work with those 8 states in the southeast. But really, the purpose of the training centers is to really help sustain a skilled public health workforce. And I'm going to go from the bottom of the slide up, but we provide consultation and technical assistance to health departments and other community partners. We provide experiential learning or internships for public health and allied health students. And then the one that I think may be most applicable for you all is we also provide professional development, so training for the public health workforce. And I consider you all the public health workforce. And so I would really encourage you all to go find your regional public health training center. The easiest way is to go to the website, and you'll see a map very similar to this, and you can link out to your training center, because we've got trainings that may be useful to you and may be helpful to you and potentially others that you work with. And with that, you'll have contact information for myself and for Elena, and I will stop sharing and see. We've got 2 minutes left. So Raya, can we give the 2 minutes to the group to see if anybody's got questions?
Please, yep, that sounds good.
Well, while you're thinking of your questions, what I will say to you is, as somebody that has presented all the variety of ways you can present at APHA, enjoy the poster session. It's fun because you get to talk to people and you get to really have sort of one-on-one conversations. And what will happen though is you'll have a one-on-one conversation with somebody, and somebody else is going to come up to you, and you got to figure out how to manage all of them. But Astrid, you had a question.
Yes, I got an email mentioning advanced registration deadline, and I wasn't sure if I should be concerned by it.
No, we are taking control of the. I'll just say we are registering everybody. So we have submitted the batch registration already. So you all do not have to register yourselves.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you.
Yeah.
My other big Celine.
Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt, but one of the things that came up in our group kind of at the last second was questions about how we can represent what we are doing in our projects visually, concerning like images, tables, graphs. Do you have any suggestions for how to get started with that?
Well, I would think about what it is you want to present. Do you have data that you need to present? If so, then you might do that. Do you have, if you're a program that's got, that's sort of people-oriented and people-facing, are there photographs? Ask for permission. Make sure you've got permission to use somebody's image. But are there logos that would be important to use? I would think about your content and where can you swap words or visuals for a word. And I think one of the things is when y'all start in the next month to sort of map out and think about what you might want to include, and then you come back next month and share your ideas. Hopefully collectively, if you're very word heavy, maybe some of your colleagues in the group will help you think about it and say, oh, but you know what, you could have used an image for this, or what if you think about that?
Yeah, and I'll just add too, before we get to Jennifer's question, that pictures can help tell the story of why what you're doing is important, and why Public Health AmeriCorps and the work that you do in your host site is impactful. So those are great ways to also demonstrate that. And Jennifer, yeah, go ahead.
Hi, my question's a little off topic. I'm sorry. It kind of goes with the registration question. I know we got the stuff for the flight details. Do we also have to book our own hotel? Because I didn't see anything about how to do that, or is that taken care of by you guys, or how do we manage that?
Yep, hotels are already booked. So if you haven't received a confirmation, I would just check your spam or junk. It happened like maybe a month ago, so we can resend hotel confirmation.
Already. I might not have saw it. I get a ton of emails, so I'll relook.
Okay, yeah, and it probably it would have come from APHA events and not Christy or I or the Alliance email, so it's a little bit different than the normal emails you get. but yeah, we can send around hotels again just so everybody has that information.
Okay, thank you so much.
So I know we're 2 minutes over, but if I can give you my final 2 minutes, how to survive a conference as big as APHA, bring comfortable shoes, bring granola bars or other kind of snack stuff, because you can get food at the conference center, but it's going to be expensive as can be. I like bringing a canvas bag that has shoulder straps. It's easy because when you go through the exhibit hall, you'll want to pick up all the free things that are there. And a bag with shoulder straps, it's really easy to sort of take it off and put things in there. Make sure you have, although your badge will have your information and people can scan your badge to figure out who you are, but also, you know, have business cards, probably like Elena was talking about the electronic business, the QR code for electronic business cards, but have that, and just explore. I mean, go to sessions that you are interested in, go to sessions that sound cool that you never thought you would go to. And be prepared to have tired feet at the end of the day. Those would be my sort of final remarks about that.
You definitely got to plan out your day too, because there are so many sessions happening at one time that if you don't like think through, okay, I want to go to this one and this one and this one, it's just it can get really overwhelming. But if you have that plan of attack, it makes it a little bit easier. And if you're nervous about public speaking, poster sessions are great for that, because I am terrified of public speaking. You should have seen me beforehand. I was shaking, but poster sessions are so laid back and it's a lot easier just to have one-on-one conversations than present in front of a big room. So it's a good practice.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Thank you so much, Moose. Thank you so much, Elena. Thanks everybody for your time today. And let us know if you have questions. You can always email us at alliance@apha.org.
Thank you.